Hi guys, welcome to math class. Today is Wednesday, August 12th, 2020. If you haven't already done this, could you please stop the video right here, head over to your Google Classroom and complete your bell work number 3. All right, hopefully you had a chance to get that bell work number 3 done. If you haven't, go ahead and pause the video and then you can hop back on when you are ready. So just a rundown of what we went through in class today. First thing is, let me present my screen for you. We looked at our materials that we're going to need for class today. You're going to need your binder, and then you just need some paper in your binder for your notes today. All of our activities are going to go right into our notebook. So we're going to do our bell work number 3. Hopefully you've already done that. Check that off. We went over the divisibility rules in a Nearpod activity. Then today you're going to be able to add notes to your notebook on the numbers 2, 4, 5, and 10. And then there'll be a couple independent practice questions at the end. So your independent practice is just to finish those in your notes. So our learning goal today is that I can identify the numbers that are divisible by 2, 4, 5, and 10. So let's start with what we should already know. We're going to be testing numbers. We're going to start with 2, we're going to start with 5 and 10 because those are ones you should be really familiar with. So on this hundreds grid right here, I want you to pause for a moment and notice all the numbers on here that are divisible by 2. What you should notice in here when you're looking at your numbers divisible by 2 is that it includes all the numbers in this column here, and all the numbers here end with a 2. It includes all the numbers in this column, which end in a 4. All of the numbers in this column, which end in a 6. All of the numbers in this column, which end in 8. And then this final column are all the numbers that end in a 0. So a little trick when you're looking for a number that's divisible by 2, just look for something that ends, or its last digit, is a 2, 4, 6, 8, or 10. And that means it is an even number. Now I want you to look at this hundreds grid and find me the numbers that are divisible by 5. All right. As you're looking in the hundreds grid, did you notice that they also have something that creates a pattern? The numbers that are divisible by 5 are all in this row right here with the 5s. And so they all end with a 5. And then the other part of it is that they're over here in the column that has the 10s. And so you'll notice they all end in a 0. So to be divisible by 5, we're looking for anything whose last digit is a 5 or a 0. Lastly, can you find me all the numbers that are divisible by 10? Great. If you found them, you should see that they end in a 0. So that's a little trick. Anything that ends in a 0 means it must be divisible by 10. So I don't have to do any division to find those rules. The tricky one that we're going to look at today is 4. So just take a minute and study that grid. Can you see the numbers that are divisible by 4? Well, you may notice with the 4s, they jump. There's no straight column to look down to find all our answers because it would be 4, then 8, then 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, 40, 44, 48, 52, 56, 60, 64, 68, 72, 76, 80, and 84. 88, 92, 96, and lastly 100. So you notice it jumped all over the place. So I once had a student tell me that a rule must be that they are all even. But is that true? Yes, they are all even, but are all even numbers divisible by 4? And that would be a no, because 2 is not divisible by 4. It's even, but not divisible by 4. 6 is not divisible by 4, even though it's even. 10 is not divisible. Oops, sorry. I didn't mean to do 10. I meant to do 12. 12 is divisible by 4 and is even, but something like 14. 14 is not divisible by 4, even though it's even. So you can't just rely on that. But there are some tricks that are going to help you with the larger numbers and identifying if they are divisible by 4. So in class, we did a draw activity with that, kind of outlining what we just looked at. And then I gave everybody a little quick quiz. So we're going to skip over those parts and we're going to go into our notes. So in your notes, you're going to open up your notebook and you are going to find a new page and label it 812 and then write divisibility rules on the top of your page. I'm going to jump over here and you can see my notebook. And I'm switching my pages here and I'm going to find my first available page. You guys can see I take a lot of notes and do a lot of work in here. So I'm just going to look for my next page. So on here in my notebook, we're going to date this 8/12, and we're going to write that what we're doing is our divisibility rules. So today we discussed 4 numbers. We want to know, when is a number divisible by 2? So a number is divisible by 2 when the last digit is an even number, which means it must be a 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. So there you go. Anytime you're looking at some numbers, you're going to look for anything that ends in 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. The big one that I want you to see right here that might be new to you is the number 4. That one we really didn't see any patterns with it. So the number 4 has a little trick that you can do, especially with larger numbers. You're always going to look at the last 2 digits. It's divisible if the last 2 digits are a multiple of 4. For example, in this one right here, what you might see is if I give you the number 116. What are the last 2 digits of that number? 16. So since it's 16, that would be a yes. All right, I'll give you another example. How about if I gave you, let's go bigger. Let's go 946. So again, only look at those last 2 digits. 946 is 46 divisible by 4. So is 46 a multiple of 4? So imagine you counted by 4s again on that hundreds grid. Did you ever hit a 46? The answer is no. So only look at those last 2 digits. All right, the next one was 5. And 5, we're going to look for your last digit is a 0 or a 5. Sorry, my daughter's here. And then lastly, we have 10. 10 works if your last digit is a 0. So you're only looking for those zeros. So there you go. Those are the rules we're going to focus on today. We'll keep it to stuff we probably should know. Ease you into your first day of really taking notes. So for your practice questions, this is what I call the your turn, where you're going to do some practice. We're going to turn this into a chart. So I'm going to scoot this up just a little bit. Here's what I want you to do. You're going to put on the top of your page, leave a little space right here, and go 2, 4, 5, and 10. And I'm going to draw a line down each. You can add to it later. I'm only going to give you a couple today. All right, so I'm going to do one as a practice, and I'm going to give you a number to write down. So here's your example. I'm going to put this here. Let's say I give you the number, let's do 600 and let's say 80. Yeah, let's just do 680. Done. Ready? So you're going to put a check mark next to every single one that it's divisible by. So is 680 divisible by 2? Taking a look at that, if you follow our rule, is our last digit an even number? Yes, you can put a check mark or an X. How about 4? So I'm going to check the last 2 digits. Is 80 a multiple of 4? That is a yes. For 5, right here, does it end in a 5 or a 0? Again, we're looking at that last digit. Super helpful. It's a 0, so that's a check mark. And then lastly, we have 10. 10, we're just going to look at that last digit, and again, we have a 0. So there's a check. So it is divisible by 2, 4, 5, and 10. So the numbers that I would like you to practice, I'm going to give you 5. So here's number 1. Let's start in the hundreds. Let's do a 342, 806, 7,295, 2,000. Let's do 12,000. 580. And then lastly, let's do 448,644. Don't get scared by those big numbers because remember, we're really focusing on the last digit or the last 2 digits. So go ahead and finish those 5 practice problems, put a check mark next to each, and we'll be ready to talk about those in class tomorrow. And that's it for today.